Rise up, Guardians. Destiny Rising is approaching. It's time for Destiny fans to get a taste of what their new game has to offer. Was a mobile game at all what players expected? No. Was it asked for? No, not from what I've seen at least. Do you guys not have phones? Okay, Blizzard, I'm not letting that go, but back to Destiny. Bungie went ahead and authorized NetEase to make Destiny Rising. I think the general sentiment is that the choice to make NetEase make the game is a good choice. Allow the company with experience in mobile games to take the reins and go at it. While this may come across as a slap in the face to mainline Destiny fans who wanted more in Destiny 2 or a new Destiny 3, it has to be noted that Bungie had almost no involvement in the development of this game. They guided the ship to stay within the concept of the Destiny universe, but beyond that, they didn't take time to make the game, meaning mainline Destiny lost nothing in this deal. Ultimately, the struggles of Destiny and the rise of Destiny Rising are separate events. Hopefully, Destiny Rising can bring some joy to Destiny fans who have been searching for more since the new episodic format started. For myself, I am a long-standing Destiny player who hung up his Titan mark following Lightfall. I played from shortly after Destiny 1's release all the way up to then. I was there doing resets weekly and trying to get the best gear. I loved Destiny for a very long time. The highlights for me were the raids. I was all about the raids and wasn't nearly as invested in other parts of the game. Destiny brought me joy for a long time, and while it stopped doing that, I have hopes that the franchise can still succeed. I still watch Destiny content here and there to keep up with general news. I heard about Destiny Rising and was immediately put off by the idea. It seemed unnecessary and it seemed like too tall of a task for anyone to make a game like Destiny function on mobile. I knew, however, I had to give it a try. I enrolled for the alpha and was shocked when I actually got in. I sat down and played it, and now here I am with my thoughts collected and some ideas about what this game does offer, what it may offer at release, and what it does well versus what it does poorly. If you're a curious Destiny fan, sit down and grab a drink. We have a lot to talk about. There are chapter markers to help you find what you want to hear about, and if they aren't working, head to the description and they'll be listed there. No more hesitation, Guardian. Time to dive in. When you first open Destiny Rising, you're greeted with a cinematic of the speaker talking. You are quickly faced with the reality that this story is Destiny with different names for characters and places. It functions almost identically to mainline Destiny's story, at least at the start. You are dumped into a brief character creation where you only see half of the options. You select your body type, voice, and your pronouns. Be sure you like the voice you picked because your character actually speaks quite a lot in this game. Imagine that. The rest of the character creation comes after the first mission. The options aren't numerous, but it's acceptable. This pushes you into the next intro cutscene where your ghost tracks you down and revives you. Now it's you, Wolf, and your ghost, Zev, working together to escape the Fallen. Your opening mission is laced with small cutscenes, dialogue between your character Wolf and the ghost Zev, and fighting. You get your first taste of combat against familiar Fallen foes. This is going to feel exactly like Destiny for Destiny fans. Yes, it's a different format. Yes, the mechanics are slightly different. Yes, it's on mobile. But the common trend of this game is that it does feel like Destiny. I had little hope or expectations going into this that it could pull off that Destiny feel on mobile, but it does, at times too well. We'll talk about that more later. The format of your combat is having a primary weapon, which can be an auto rifle, pulse rifle, SMG, light grenade launcher, scout rifle, or hand cannon. You will then have a secondary that will be a machine gun, a new auto crossbow, grenade launcher, rocket launcher, sniper rifle, shotgun, fusion rifle, or sword. You are locked into whatever weapon classes your character uses though. For example, the starting character only uses auto rifles and grenade launchers. Another character you can unlock called Yolder uses an SMG and a sword. So this is where the gacha game mechanics come in. If you have a good weapon you want to use, but your high level characters can't use it, then you either have to unlock a new character of high level with the proper weapon slots, or you have to level up one of those you already have and use a different weapon slot. I get it that they're trying to make money. I still feel like this is a poor mechanic. I think the abilities of characters would be a selling point enough. Making each character you unlock forced into a weapon type as well seems a little over the top. Beyond that, you have two abilities and your super. For Wolf, I think of this character as more of a hunter-warlock hybrid. All abilities for Wolf are solar based. There is a dash short-range melee that resets cooldown if you will eliminate an enemy. There is also a ranged attack where you send out a cleave of solar energy. The ultimate is basically Solar Blade Dancer, so you have your 2 weapons, a base melee, 2 abilities, and a super. This is Destiny, and the only thing you're missing is a 3rd weapon and a 3rd support ability. I think that for what it is, this is a solid selection of ways to attack, and it works great for this being a mobile game. So, that covers the basics of the function of this game. You will work through the story by doing missions, leveling up reputation for locations through patrols and public events. You go into strikes to level up and hunt loot, and there's a ton of more activities we'll talk about later. A Destiny veteran will absolutely be able to pick this up and find their way through it. This is a baseline look at the game, and we will discuss a few more things in detail during later sections of the video, so let's start getting into specific talking points for this game that I wanted to hit. How well does Destiny Rising perform with it being on mobile? I played on my Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus for reference to all of this. I'm not up to date, so I'm playing a little bit behind. I'm going to slip this into performance quickly. I used a controller to play. This works so well, and if you aren't using a controller, I'm sorry for you. The controller works well and all the controls make sense. Back to game performance, the game runs well, much better than I would have expected. I was recording while playing and it still ran smoothly. Yes, you of course are dealing with less graphical fidelity. It is not pretty, but it is on mobile, and considering that, I think it's a good quality for the system it's running in. It is quite similar visually to Call of Duty Mobile, so if you've played that, expect similar looks here, just with the Destiny flair and style. It stays smooth consistently. I got a few small freezes or frame drops here and there, but they weren't major. Even in heated battles with a lot going on, this game runs smooth and keeps going ahead like it's normal. That is extremely important in a shooter to be fluid, and this game covers that. The game also loads quickly. When you fast travel or start a mission, it does not waste time loading at all. How much battery does this game eat up? This will vary majorly between phones and how much battery life your phone has already seen, how many recharge cycles you've already done, did you go for higher settings, what was your brightness. All of this will change how much battery it takes. I ran on balanced mode in-game and about medium brightness on my phone. My first time playing, I sat down for 2.5 hours and went from 85% to 37%. So it ate up 48% of my battery in that time. Keep in mind as well that I was recording, so that wouldn't help. I honestly would have expected it to take much more of my battery, so I can't complain at all. If you're hooked up to a charger, you should be able to play for a very long time with no issues. There's also a simple toggle between first and third person, and I'm relating that to performance because it is a very smooth transition that you can do whenever you want. When it comes to performance, the game succeeds, and in the case of battery life, it impresses in my eyes. UI is our next topic, and it is always a big one for players, and it should be. A well-made UI puts in the work to keep players happy. A poorly made UI kills players' interest before they can even get into the game. I am happy to report that I like this UI and it does its job well. Things are organized in a logical manner and it's easy to find what you're looking for. In the case that you can't find what you're looking for, they often have quick links where if you tap it, it'll bring you to what you're looking for. This UI is also full of information, which is great for those searching for it. There is a whole section dedicated to explaining almost everything about the game and unlockable achievements. In here you've got all weapon types, elemental weapons, and their interactions, different damage types, triumphs, weapon rarities, weapon trait types, status effects, on and on. You get the point. It is filled to the brim with useful information for you. Of course, in the UI as well, you'll have your characters, inventory, weapons, and packs that can be opened. Your current quest is in here showing what needs to be done and the rewards you will receive for completing it. There is a section which keeps a hold on the lore that you have discovered through playing, and you can have that for future reference. You can also access a map which is well detailed, has lots of information, and has fast travel points just like Destiny. I think this UI is really well designed for how much is in this game, and it works well. This UI is beyond appreciated. The spice of life in Destiny is knowing that you have many different types of activities you can complete. In Destiny Rising, you still have quite a few things to do. Your main story is of course the focal point, but beyond that there is still more to take in. You can complete bounties, patrols, public events, and strikes, just like its classic Destiny. There are many things to do to occupy your time, just like Destiny, and I am thankful for that. It could have easily had nothing in the mobile version, but they did go ahead and offer some variety. With there being so many events and things to do across open spaces, it is also wonderful that they have fast traveling and they actually managed to get sparrows in here too. They're pretty janky, but they are appreciated. I was unsure of where I wanted to add this part, so I'm just gonna sneak it in here. The NPC and allied AI characters, I cannot believe that this is coming out of my mouth, but they are some of the best I have ever played alongside. This is for small reasons, but they matter to me. The allied characters, when they fight with you, actually make a noticeable difference. I could watch Ayuela do damage to enemies as she sniped them, and it was meaningful chunks of health. Then, my favorite part of these allies is moving with them. There was a Sparrow sequence where you are following Ayuela. I got off course at one point and she just waited. That's normal, but I noticed when we got back on track I was going at a low speed and she was too. Then when I boosted and took off, she did the same. No matter how fast I went, she matched that speed. There are so many times in different games when you're forced to follow a character where they move slow as molasses or between a walk and run, so following them is simply annoying. How come this mobile game is able to get it right? I don't believe it. Anyway, there are new modes too, and a standout which I really enjoyed was Realm of the Nine. You work through many stages, and between each stage you select one of a few buffs to increase your power in the next stage. This is a genuinely fun mode, and the buffs between each round are a large part of that fun. Destiny Rising has a surprising amount of variety in what you can do. I have a list of modes here. This is not exhaustive, but goes to show that there is quite a lot to do. Wolf Den, PvP modes, the Stockade, a Gambit-like PvEVP, the Pit, Zhengxi Metro patrols and public events, Strikes, Training Grounds, Morgan's Prey, Haven Ops, Gauntlet Ops, which is the most similar activity to Destiny Raids that Destiny Rising has. There are more than this list stated, and hopefully there's also more for a full release of the game. As it stands though, there is quite a lot to do and spend time in to farm and level up your many characters. There are many playable characters available to players. This is where the main monetization of the game will come from, so this makes sense. Clumped in here as well will be weapon variety, as that and characters are now tied together as mentioned before. You start as Wolf and will after a while start to unlock some new characters. Caber will become playable to you. That was fascinating to me, as it's a name Destiny fans have heard many times. Seeing him here and being able to not only talk to him, but play as him was a neat experience. This is where being an alternate timeline really helps Destiny Rising. Being able to see characters we weren't able to see before and only know about through Tales and Legends. You also will be given some free draws, which will result in likely more characters for you. I ended up pulling Yolder and Ikora. Obviously, once Caber became playable, I started to see where this game was headed. I am not used to this game type. I don't usually play gacha games, so I wasn't exactly sure how this was going to be monetized. Now that I know the main thing is going to be drawing for characters and hoping to get a good rarity on them or a good roll, it makes sense to me. This aligns with what I know about this kind of game. You want to keep players interested, so you make them keep grinding to pull a strong character with weapon slots that the player is looking for. Knowing that the character you want is out there and has all you want, you just have to grind or pay for it. That's a big hook to keep players invested. Aside from the paying part, it is similar to grinding a Nightfall for hours on end hoping to get a specific weapon roll. Only now you can pay real money to get there faster and have better odds. I will discuss my thoughts on this monetization specifically during that section. For now, the characters you can play as are interesting enough, and they have enough variation to matter. Having your characters actually speaking and engaging with the world around them is a big deal, and impressive that the mobile version of Destiny has more of your character talking and engaging than your character does in the mainline Destiny games. As for weapons, you have the classic weapon types of Destiny now formatted into the 2-slot system. The autocrossbows are the new addition to the roster as a heavy or power weapon type. Are the weapons anything new and exciting? Not really, no. There are some new things, don't get me wrong, and there also are some new different types of traits available on weapons and new exotics, but I wasn't personally drawn to any of them. This may also be a symptom similar to what every new DLC for Destiny had, where I would just be rushing through to get the new thing that's powerful versus even caring what I had until I was in the end game. Perhaps once the early speeding through levels slows down, then I would start to focus on what specific weapons I have, meaning I would care more about what they are. These weapons are another classic Destiny feel for the game though. They feel the same and do what you expect them to do. There are even some exact guns from mainline Destiny like Sweet Business for example. For now, the weapons do their job. It will need to be seen into the future how they fare when it comes to long-term grinding and hunting for specific builds, but we just don't have the sample size for that yet. What is the story for Destiny Rising? Is it interesting? I want this out of the way first. They may take twists and turns later into the story, but for now, I'm not very impressed. Tell me if you've heard this before. A ghost searches for something. After drifting around a while, they come across a body. They revive this body and start talking with them. The newly revived person is confused and doesn't remember anything and doesn't know why they are there. The ghost informs them that they are in fact a ghost and that they did in fact revive you from the dead. But there's no time to worry about that now. There are these bad creatures called the Fallen, and they are coming to take our bodies by force, no consent here. We have to move, so we scramble and thankfully come across a weapon. We pick this up and then immediately have to fight off some Fallen with our newly acquired weapon. We fight our way out and then make our way to a city. The last city, in fact. The last safe city for humanity, where the light of the traveler works to keep everyone safe. We head into the city and speak with an important person who says some things and then kicks us out the door because we aren't strong enough yet, and we need to fix that. So we head off to an area where we know there is an artifact from the light. We fight to it and interact with it. When we do this, we are granted access to the rest of our abilities and use our super to annihilate our enemies. Now, we are strong enough to be accepted and get sent out on our first mission. We have to go save some people in a different location who are under attack by the Fallen. We fight and help them. And then a new important person shows up and says, there is a dangerous thing happening under the surface and we have to deal with it. You go, and what do you find? That's right. Oh shit, it's the Hive. You fight them. You finish fighting them. Everyone realizes this is a big problem. Okay, I've gone far enough. I could not believe how similar this was to mainline Destiny's story. They just flopped some names around. The first important person wasn't the speaker, it's now Radagast. You are not a or the Guardian, you are Wolf. Your ghost isn't called Ghost, that's Zev, and you better put some respect on their name. The last city isn't called the last city or the tower, it is called Haven. Which, by the way, Haven looks so much more visually interesting than anything D1 or 2 had for their towers. And it is a pretty large play space. This is a cool set piece, I just had to get that out there. Back to the story, it runs so similar to mainline Destiny in the beginning that I find it insane. I have a theory about why this is the case in the next section, and I assume that I'm wrong, and I'm also hoping that I'm wrong with my theory. The story does eventually start to break away from that trend. This is part of an alternate timeline, so these characters are who we know them as by name, however they have not experienced the same things and are not truly the exact same characters we know. There are constant reminders of things we know with Zur coming in, and Ahamkara's coming in, Crota's there. There's plenty of things that remind you, hey, this is Destiny. The story is using many elements, locations, and names that Destiny vets will be curious about and have a familiarity with. It thankfully seems the story is starting to branch off and doing its own thing while still within the confines of what we know. There are some cool new additions. One of these is the Sentinels. They are massive robots which have the light in them and they fight the darkness. Seeing that one of these massive machines was destroyed by something from the darkness is a great way to make the player wonder what could have beaten it and worry about running into that powerful being themselves. Is this story enough to keep me sitting down hour after hour to play a mobile game? Probably not, but for some people it will be. I'm just not a huge mobile gamer, especially not for FPS mobile games. A big positive for the story here, before getting off the topic, is that your character actually speaks. I'm going to compare the original Guardian we play as in Destiny 1 and 2 to Wolf here, as these are the most direct comparisons. You play as many characters in Destiny Rising, and yet Wolf already has spoken as much, if not more, than our Guardian ever has across Destiny 1 and 2. Having your character talk is good in a game where there is a lot of lore to get through. Not only does Wolf talk though, all your characters talk, and all of them actually have dialogue options where you can press for additional optional information if you want to keep more story coming your way. You can engage with the story as a player through your character you're playing, which has been incredibly tough in mainline Destiny. I wrote a long list of notes to myself before playing to remind myself of things I wanted to look for so I could talk about them. I wrote one down where I wanted to find, are there any interesting characters to keep the player engaged? Is our character interesting? The writing may not be the best, but they did make our character interesting by having them speak. I find it hilarious that this mobile game makes our playable character more interesting than big budget main Destiny ever has. This is all I have for the story. I am not super interested in the story, but I hope they can make something interesting come of it. This is going to be the single biggest negative section of the video. AI has become a major hot topic as of late, and I was not expecting to be talking about it here. Before you rush to the defense of NetEase, hear me out because I know what their defense is already. I noticed early on that while talking to Bazinet that her voice suddenly changed and sounded awful. I didn't realize why until later when the same thing happened to Ikora, except she sounded way worse than Bazinet did, which is an impressive feat. I then saw that the subtitles were led with the marker of AI.
Well, let's see the weaponry you've got. Whoa, that thing's an antique. Ugh, time for her to retire. I'm sure this old-timer still has a little fight left in her, but we've got better options nowadays. Here, give this feisty gal a try.
Most guns have their particular perks. You ever hear of Basak Poker? There's all sorts of cards. Draw a hand, play them together, then boom! Chemical reactions, pow!
We focus all our firepower and prioritize dealing with the Hive. They pose a far greater threat than the Fallen.
They used AI voice generation to fill in these voice lines that they didn't yet have. This is a huge no-no in my books. I do not care that this is an alpha build. They already saw the backlash and put out a statement in the Discord server for Destiny Rising. If I can't get it to attach nicely in the video, I'll just summarize that message now. They are saying that the AI voice lines are placeholders which will be replaced in the final build. Okay, I hear you, but I think you went about this the entire wrong way. Don't have anything there for the sections where real voice lines aren't yet ready. Have the subtitles up on screen and leave it at that. There are many MMOs where you read nearly everything, so it wouldn't be like you're the first developer to make its players read. Instead, you told on yourself and openly said, yes, we are willing to use AI for a product that is being released to the public. Again, I know it isn't the final build, but it is a bad look. Now I'm left wondering what else would you be willing to use AI on? That leads me to wonder, I am not accusing, but I am wondering if they used AI generation on this story. It feels as if they could have dumped the lore of D1 and 2 into an AI and asked it to make a new story, which could explain why the stories start off so similarly. I am not claiming that this is what happened, but seeing open uses of AI in the game makes me wonder what else they would use it for. I am not pleased with their decision to take this route, and it has honestly left a sour taste in my mouth. The last major section I have left to talk about is monetization. This is the goal of the game. Sell product, make money. A reminder that I don't usually play these gacha style games, so I am not of a high authority here speaking. Looking at what they have, it seems pretty run-of-the-mill for me with these mobile type games, but I think it does ask quite a bit of its players for money. You have the draws, which you can buy, a battle pass, and a Dazzle Emery subscription. You can also directly buy cosmetics in the shop. While this is run-of-the-mill, it feels like they are throwing the kitchen sink at players and monetizing left and right with recurring passes and subscriptions on top of the draws and other cosmetics you may buy. Maybe this sheer level of microtransactions is normal for a game like this, but I can't help but feel that this goes into the too much category at least a little. A huge component of this will be how well can players progress and level up without spending any money. If you're going to struggle all of the time because you don't want to spend money, then that is a major problem. This will only be known in the long run, and right now there isn't enough data and there aren't any prices available to see how this is going to operate, and we can't see how the game will operate long term. The start is usually the easiest. Once the heavy grind sets in, how much will it feel you need to spend money? If it remains possible for players to keep up and have fun without spending money, then all of these microtransactions are totally acceptable. If they end up roadblocking you and asking for your wallet, then there will be a problem. I've described all that you can buy. I'm not here to tell you how you should spend your money, or if this is even a fair ask of its players. That will be up to you to decide. Just know that there are many ways that you will be asked to spend your money. Destiny Rising looks like it's going to please the audience of players who enjoy the gacha style of game. It has those elements of RNG and excitement for pulling a character you wanted. For Destiny fans, it may bring some enjoyment for you, but it entirely depends on who you are as a player. If you're willing to compromise and play on a lesser quality version of Destiny to get your Destiny fill, then you'll probably enjoy this. If you're looking for some classic Destiny that's been missing lately, where there's a ton to do and a ton to grind, then this could be for you. I can say that I honestly was surprised with this game, which is why I'm calling it Destiny Surprising. I really expected it to be horrible, and it went above my expectations. It isn't a masterpiece, but it can be enjoyed by Destiny vets as well as the target audience of gacha gamers. At the end of the day, this is a Destiny game and it feels that way, which is a major accomplishment of NetEase. Hopefully you're able to get your hands on the alpha, and if not, perhaps any beta tests they do. Otherwise, catch it at release and check it out. Let me know what you think of Destiny Rising so far in the comments section down below. That's all I have for today. Farewell, Guardians. Until next time.